Hello, everybody, and welcome to the deepest dive from MinnMax, place about games, friends, getting better. This is the best, most thorough discussion about games on the internet with the whole deepest dive series. We've covered them all. Name a game, list a game in the comments. I promise we've covered it for the deepest dive, and that's Scout's honor. For this discussion, we are covering the second half of Onimusha Warlords for the PS2, but also covering the remaster. So this is Capcom's 2001 Samurai Resident Evil game. We are going to be talking about everything in this game from the point when Saminosuke gets captured behind a green force field and you switch characters to the end of the game. So everything within Onimusha 1 is going to be on the table for spoilers, so you've been warned. Special shout out to everybody who supports us on Patreon at patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. They have joined us for this journey. They've submitted comments over there on Patreon that we're going to be reading those during our discussion. We got a ton of comments, so shout out to everybody for fueling the possibility of this series to begin with, and for leaving comments to help the whole thing out. But I am Ben Hansen, and thankfully I'm not alone. I'm joined by fierce warriors like Jacob Keller.
I love the checkpoints in this game.
Nothing better, and Kelsey Lewin.
That's me.
With a new background. It's Kelsey Remastered.
It's my game.
We also have Kyle Hilliard.
Hey, I kept reloading my save every time I tried to use that item that brought you back to life. I was like, I don't want to use that. I'm saving that.
Smart. And then we have Michael Huber, the host of the Easy Allies podcast.
Yo, greetings.
Greetings. The most greetings to you, sir. Thank you for joining us on this big old journey. This is...
Oh, thank you for having me.
Oh my God, it's an honor. We got so much to cover in the back half of Onimusha. Before we get to that, I want to call out a couple things. Again, this whole thing is possible because of Patreon. Patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. And if you jump in this week, everybody, before, of course, February 17th, 2025, you jump in, you support us at any tier on Patreon. We recommend the $5 tier, though, because then you unlock the podcast version of this discussion, of the deepest dive, and all of our interviews and early ad-free versions of the MinnMax show. But you support us this week, and we will DM you a Steam code for Cryptmaster, one of Janet Garcia's favorite games from 2024, sitting at overwhelmingly...
I like that game.
Yeah, it was cool as hell. Sitting at overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam. This indie game could use some more love. It's a cool as hell game, so support MinnMax on Patreon, support independent games media. If you've enjoyed what we've been doing lately, support it directly, and we'll DM you that Steam code for Cryptmaster, which is dungeon crawler with a focus on typing. It's a really, really cool idea for a game, and so you can get it and help support the developers that way. Leave a review on their Steam page, all that fun stuff. But we are out of codes when we hit 5,700 paid supporters. So if it's below 5,700, you're good to go, and we'll DM you that Steam code by supporting us on Patreon. And again, you can unlock the podcast version of this deepest dive. And do you know what's on that Patreon page there, Jacob?
Podcast versions of all the latest MinnMax things.
That's true. That's very astute of you. But I was just going to say, yeah, hundreds and hundreds of comments about Onimusha. But there can only be one that is the most common comment. For the second half of Onimusha on PS2, what was the most common comment that people submitted? What do you think? What's the talker?
Should we just jump in?
Jump in, man.
I think it's a general sort of surprise/disappointment with the ending.
Okay. Surprise is interesting.
I'm guessing a lot of, even though I've beaten it before and this is my second time beating it, I immediately went to Google and I was like, is there another ending? Is there an alternate ending that I missed or something?
Okay, all right.
That's my
It's a contender, guess. Kyle. I think you're maybe in the 2 or 3 spot with that pick.
Okay.
I was just going to say Final Boss Hard.
Final Boss Hard? Got a couple about that. No, not quite.
Yeah, maybe it's too general, but just like challenge... and like I said, checkpoints, that would have been my most common comment.
Yeah, no, not for this one.
Something about that waterfall. It looks so cool, and we love waterfalls.
It is beautiful. There's no doubt about it.
Good waterfall.
No, these absolute monsters did not have one comment about that waterfall, and I'm kind of horrified. There's no people who appreciate the beauty of nature from 2001.
There was also a great pre-rendered boat in the foreground.
Kyle, don't get me started on that boat. It's the best looking boat.
This is so dumb, but I do this sometimes. I waited 30 seconds and then took a video of it so I could have a 30-second loop of the on the Switch, because I was playing on Switch.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I was playing and I saw that boat pop up and I'm like, you know what? I need to do an Instagram story just to show off that boat, because especially on a CRT, having like a pre-rendered boat in the foreground slowly moving, and it's like so deep in the game where it's buried. And so like if if I had this game in 2001, I would have called my friends, like, come over to my house. I need to show you this
kept
boat.
a save file around that area.
That is the boat save file. And I was like, well, I can't delete this. I know I'm out of memory card space on my 8 megabyte memory card, but what am I going to do? I need to see this boat forever because it looks so damn good. But no, these people who support us are lovely, but they're cowards and they're scared to talk about the boat. So the most common comment is about the secret sword, the Bishamon sword that you get for beating the demon tower, and you can use against the final boss. People are very into that sword specifically.
I guess so. If everyone who did it, they just had to brag. They just had to come by and be like, I beat the demon tower. I'm better than Jacob.
Should have guessed it.
Yeah,
What's
I have
so
a
cool about the
confession.
sword?
It's okay, Kelsey. This is safe. This is offline.
Okay, I know this is the deepest dive, and therefore I should do everything in the game, but you guys, there's a lot of really good video games coming out right now.
Oh, no.
And I
Don't
would like
say
to
it.
get to them, and I did not do the Demon Tower, and I'm very sorry.
I didn't because I was using all my health items, and I was just like, I need to save.
That was my
these,
fear.
You know.
I
Yeah.
did the whole thing and beat it, and then I forgot to get the sword.
Can you tell me about this sword? I don't know anything about it. Like I didn't
It's just
get
like
it.
this. It's just the strongest sword. You finish the tower and you get like an ocarina and you play it somewhere, and then you just get like this super strong.
Do you have to
legendary
level
sword.
it up or anything?
No,
or?
it's.
No?
I think.
Okay.
I think. It comes like with base stats that are just stronger than. All
And there's
the
no
others.
reason not to just make that your standard.
Yeah,
right?
it's your main. Yeah, your main at that point.
But you can only use it on the final boss?
I haven't done it in so long now. I
Okay.
forget, and I was all ready to go, and then I got there, and I was like, "Wait, did I not use the ocarina at the spot?"
That is brutal. Yeah, Capsulon says, oh boy, there's too much here. There's Salsa by the Sea says, Ben, you should have done the Dark Realm, man. Might have taken a while, but man, that bonus weapon is worth it. You only get to use it after beating Marcellus, but it absolutely goes nuts in those final moments. It uses no mana and just absolutely wails on fools. This game rips. Thank you, MinnMax, for the deepest dive. Thank you, Salsa by the Sea.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this was a journey in the second half of the game for me, but I was up S Creek at the end of this game with like no healing, no medicine, no herbs. And so I was like, God, I don't know what to do. And so one of my paths was like, maybe I can go for that demon tower. Maybe that's the route. Because there is a medicine that you get after what, like 10 floors, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, so I kept trying to gun it for that, but I'm like, it's not worth it because when I have no other healing, that's not enough to get me through this tower, I don't think. And so at that point, I need to find some other route. But I was so worried about healing into this game, like to the point that, like, there's a lot we can work through chronologically. But I mean, I had no healing, so it's like, all right, what do? The demon tower seems difficult with no healing, so I'm just going to, I guess, explore because I had not opened a single one of those decoder boxes.
Oh,
The entire game, because I was like, I guess that's something for later, so I'll get back
This
to
was
that.
a strategy.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then it turns out that was a terrible idea because like parts of the map are cut off by the end, so you can't get back everywhere. So I probably left so many healing items on the table. So I ran around just like grinding, trying to get my health up for like 2 hours.
Wow.
And then eventually went in.
Like half my playtime.
I
think
know.
I beat it. I think mine was 3.5 hours.
Oh my God. It was just so much exploring. Yeah, I think mine was over 7 hours in the in-game clock,
okay.
which outside of game clock was probably way more than that. But then of course I
Does
go
that
in and
factor into your grade at the end? Do we know?
I don't
your time?
know. You'd think it would.
For the score, it lists like grade and how many things you collected, and if you did the demon tower. So I
But
think
it
it
also
does
says your time.
saves.
It does say the time. Yeah.
Because I know Resident Evil at that time definitely was about time and number of saves and heals used.
Okay. Yeah. But then it turns out that after fighting Marcellus a couple times, like, oh, there's medicine in the arena by the entryway. I would have been totally fine. And then you get 2 more medicines before the final fight. Like all of that
Yeah.
worry was just for nothing. Like I could get by if I just opened my eyes in those arenas a little bit. So, but it was a good time nonetheless, just to really soak in that environment and really dial it in for finding every dead end. For like, God, there has to be medicine somewhere with those stupid decoder boxes.
Did you guys also? It was very late for me, and this is extra embarrassing because I've played the game before. But like to a certain degree, like your magic bars are individual for each sword.
I did.
So like it was Marcellus that I was like, oh, I can. No, actually, it was the bee lady. in the
Yeah.
B-Lady.
She was when I realized it's like, oh, if I switch weapons, I can do my special attacks and kind of cycle through them. I that was like a late revelation for me.
I
Wait.
no.
Unhinged cutscene there.
Wait a
with
sec.
Yes,
B-Lady.
Kelsey. Open
Yeah,
your
okay, hold
eyes,
on.
Kelsey.
Oh, we need to dedicate an hour to that.
Okay, so you're saying that I was using the fire sword almost exclusively in the last couple of hours. You're saying that if I had just cycled my swords, I would have had more magic to use?
Unlimited
Yes, you would have
magic.
had full magic bars for the other
Yep.
two.
Kelsey, do not
Sorry,
feel
I'm
bad.
sorry this is how you learned, Kelsey. I
gosh.
didn't. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news.
I
That
was
just means I did it on hard mode, guys.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep,
I
was
did
having that-
almost no magic in that final fight.
No,
It
we
was
all did it.
really hard.
Yeah, no
Jeez,
wonder
no
when you talk
wonder.
about that was your guess for most common comment, because I was having a tough time with that final boss too, and I jumped into the Discord and someone's like, make sure to swap weapons, and I was like, why? I like my weapon. It's like, no, because the magic is individualized to the weapons. Like, oh my god. Then it just, the first time I learned that, then it was just
My
a
God.
cakewalk of swapping through all the weapons. Like, all right, special move, special move, special move, the end. It's ridiculous.
Because then when you get those like blue magic refills,
Yeah.
it'll like fill them all. Even if you get some like blue from an enemy, it contributes to all your weapons mana pool. So
Wow.
Yeah, it's like
well,
how Mega Man should work.
Right.
Sorry, Kelsey.
that's all right. You know, I beat the game. It took final boss took me 7 tries, I think,
Yep.
which is a whole lot of times to watch that cutscene.
But when the cutscene's that good,
Even
watching
the
that snake
remaster,
go
you
around.
can't skip cutscenes, which is a bummer.
can't skip
Of all the things in the remaster, you think, I don't know the first thing about coding, you think that wouldn't be impossible to get a little skip or pause cutscene in there.
Load
But
Always have
bearing
a skip.
cutscenes.
The whole game falls apart if you skip those.
it would be interesting to talk to like developers who worked on some of these older games of just like, what was going on? Why is no one on the team in the 90s and early 2000s bringing up the idea of skipping cutscenes or pausing cutscenes? Is it just an outrageous notion? I don't understand how it's not.
you
I
will
mean,
watch
that
this.
is so impressive that why would anyone ever want to not? I think they must not have been thinking about the fact that you might have to watch it 8 times if you keep failing.
Right.
Totally.
'Cause, like, I get the artistic, decision to be like, no, you must watch this. We spent so much money on this, you guys. You have no idea how much money we spent on this. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe everyone else knew that you could cycle your weapons and have your magic, and they didn't expect it to take 7 tries to beat the final boss.
I swear I have a memory of games that like will make you watch the cutscene the first time, but then when you die and like do it again, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, now you can skip it.
It'd be so nice.
When did that happen? I remember that.
The worst for me was the B-Lady boss fight because the checkpoint is before the character switch or the last save. And so you're Kaede, you got to go over, get in the boat,
Yep.
go there.
This is like
you
been
look
in
at it.
the trap room all over again.
Yeah, you
nightmare.
just like watch a cutscene of your boy like slowly backing up, surrounded by 3 bugs. Then there's like a loading screen, then the B cutscene, and then you get killed by her off screen because the camera is so worst possible positioning.
It's also, this is like a lot of video games are guilty of this, but this it stuck out to me in particular in that sequence where it's like, oh no, 3 bugs. How is Samanosuke going to get out of this? I was like, I just fought like 12 of those in the tower. It's not a problem.
It's so funny.
Caleb's got your back a little bit here, Kelsey, for the game being obtuse, saying, hey, souls disappear quickly, but absorbing more at the same time actually gives you bonus souls. And the critical Eason kills, they always generate extra souls. So perfectly optimized combat looks like killing as many enemies as possible with frame-accurate Eason counters and waiting to absorb all those souls at once for the maximum bonus. I checked, and the original manual mentions none of this. Not even the franchise's signature Eason kills, so there's no excuse for the lack of tutorials in the game.
Yeah.
That was one
Eason
that...
kill the stab, the downward stab.
No, it's the
it's
the
the
counter.
counter.
You attack right at the
I know.
right time, and you do basically like a 1-hit kill.
Right.
After like 20 years, I still don't know how to do it
That's
accurately.
what I was
so-
struggling with so much is like I had no medicine, no herbs. I was at like bare minimum health. And it's like, okay, I just need to go out and grind. And I felt like at a certain point I was like grinding in kind of like that entryway to the keep where it's like the full square around, and people keep spawning and those little stupid blue guys that absorb all the souls and stuff. So I was just grinding it out there, but it was just nothing but like small red orbs popping up. And I was like, where are my yellows? What is going on? And then it turns out, had to look online. It's like, okay, you only get the yellows if you're at low health. If you're like above 50, it's not going to give it to you. And then at that point, you also can only get it if you're doing like the Issa encounters. So it's kind of a cool idea of like, if you want to regain your health, you have to risk it and try and get that timing just right for the counters so that you can try and get a little more yellow. But every time I would kill an enemy in the second half of this game and a yellow orb wasn't coming out, I was pissed. Like, I don't need any more red. I'm overflowing on red. Stop it, please.
I kept thinking about everything you just said, Ben. I kept thinking about how that's going to translate into the newest one, Way of the Sword, just with, you know, the risk and reward of knowing when to absorb the souls, like what are the orbs, what that's going to be like in the new one, and like East encounters, and just being more precise with the sword rather than like just mashing it out. So yeah, I just kept thinking about how the combat was going to translate to the new one, definitely.
Now, here's another thing that I thought I figured out, but I actually don't know if this was full placebo, was the flying orb. The flying blue balls that absorb the orbs.
Right.
When you kill them, do you get more than the value that they absorbed?
Yes.
It always feels like it. Yeah,
Okay,
you get like a
because
jackpot.
Feel like it.
when I was like, you know, towards the end, it was this really like fun thing where you'd go into an arena that had like 4 of those. You'd kill a bunch of normal enemies, and then they would procedurally, like, one would suck up all the souls, you'd kill that one, it would go into the next one, the third one, then the fourth one, and then you'd absorb all of them, and it felt like I got to level up, or, you know, my bar filled up like 8 times because of that. And I felt so clever, but then I didn't actually know if it was more than if I had just, you know, been killing them normally.
Yeah, Mini Elnaf wrote in saying, yeah, it's a fun risk-reward idea because like you let them absorb it, but then they can kind of disappear and you lose everything, but it's that bonus push. And they say also, thanks for doing the steepest dive. When y'all announced it, it unlocked a core memory for me of playing this on the PS2 and being terrified yet intrigued, but apparently not intrigued enough to finish it. So thanks for giving me the chance. That's nice.
Heck yeah.
Fun fact, says Mike Lynch, if you're lost and keep killing enemies along the way, they all but stop spawning eventually, which makes it hard to farm souls after realizing you've upgraded the weapons, but not the orbs that get you past all the locked doors in the keep. Yeah, the spawning is really weird. It feels pretty random, and like it just slowly slows down, I think, for when these people are spawning. There's some spots that I certainly found of like right outside the demon door, there's like that invisible cyborg ninja looking guy. Yeah. And like he seems like he's always, he's always there. And so I could always grind with him, and that keep was pretty good, but otherwise it'd be like easy farming with these bow freaks, and then I walk in the room, it's just nothing. Over and over again, just nothing. I don't know what is determining when they stop spawning out there.
Kept going back and forth through doors, and it would be like it would either be nothing or they'd spawn for like 5 minutes straight.
Right.
Is what it felt like. You know, like I don't know what the like. What is the algorithm behind that?
Demon logic.
My strategy was just back and forth through doors till it happened.
Were all you guys overflowing with like XP? Like at the end, I had all my weapons and everything maxed out, and I was at 25 for the XP of just like 25 rows of bank.
I was kicking myself because I ran out of herbs, and I was like, I could have just used this to upgrade a bunch of all my herbs. I should have saved them. And so I made a bunch of fire arrows because it's like I don't know, I got some. I'm like spread
shatter shells or the whatever the
shotgun shell things.
That's what you put all your money in.
Yeah, which I did, and then I think I shot that gun once. I don't think I ever used it. Yeah.
You fought the bee lady without the
Yeah, I just kept
unloading. Just we're Resident Evil now.
You're digitizing out, Huber, but we got you. We hear your Resident Evil love coming through.
After I beat the bee lady, I did beat her on my first try. But afterwards, I was like, man, that was a really long, grindy fight. That sucked. And then I looked in our Discord and people were like, yeah, just shoot arrows and guns at her. And I was like, okay.
Because the arrow has like a big wind up animation. The gun, you can just go like it can fire about as fast as you pull the trigger.
Yeah. I guess because I was like, the arrow was so hard to use, I was like, and the gun, I pulled it out once and I was like, it felt kind of slow. And I was like, I don't know. It's just not doing it for me. I did like that it's like always on fire, you know? Like it's
always smoking a little bit.
Which is kind of cool.
It is a cool idea.
This is absolutely the Kyle method through and through. This was you with Elden Ring being like, I used the first sword that I picked up. I liked it. Game gives me a gun and no thank you.
Yeah, don't give me choices.
I mean,
Don't need them.
Jake wrote in with the same thing, saying they're like, I didn't bother learning the controls for the bow or the gun, so they're like, I just used like the wind magic on that B boss and just use that over and over and over again, and I guess it basically worked if you want to do it that way, I guess. It is exciting though in the game when you start. I mean, in a very Resident Evil like way, when you start picking up the ammo for the future weapon you're gonna get, and it's like, okay,
That's cool.
starting to find bullets. Here we go. Lanthian wrote in about that exact thing.
I
saying,
definitely forgot there was a gun, and I pick up a bullet, and I was like, oh. Right, gun in this Edo period Japan game. Right.
I mean, I didn't really use it after the bee lady though. I think I shot one guy on a bridge just to test it out, and then beyond that, I was like, oh, should I have been using that on Marcellus and the final boss and stuff?
Yeah. It makes them really easy.
Oh, really? Okay. See, we're all fools in our own way, Kelsey.
We all did it wrong.
I mean, I used the gun on the final boss, and I still found the boss very difficult. So.
Were they the super bullets?
Yeah. Everything was fully upgraded. I was using the fire arrow too.
Yeah. It's so frustrating. How do you switch weapons in the remaster? How does that work?
L2.
L2.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
You just cycle through. Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be so nice because like in the second half of this game, when they just go hog wild on those archers on the roofs, like it's so annoying to enter that area and then be like, okay, I got to go to the start menu, switch to the bow, go back out so I can take out the one archer, then go back in, switch to get the sword back and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, even being able to hot swap, more often than not, I just ignored the guy on the roof. I just kind of ran through.
Yeah.
and if you got to take a couple hits, you take a couple hits. And it's like the best though is when you're fighting like a big guy, like right in the first room in the entryway to the keep. I always loved doing this as I was farming, where like I'd run in front, like to the main door, so I'd have that big tall samurai guy between me and the bow and arrow guy, and the bow and arrow guy would just keep lobbing arrows, and they would all just hit the big samurai guy. You can just dodge it and just stay right behind him the whole time. You can just take all the hits. It's pretty sweet. And then I don't need to use that bow or nothing.
When the big guys even like hit the little guys and they go flying, so satisfying.
Yeah, totally. There's still like those little interactions that still got me. Like there's that kind of that bamboo forest area and like slicing around and watching that bamboo come down. It's like, God, this still
So
looks
cool.
really great.
And I just love anytime a ninja like jumps into the screen. It's just really cool. It's just cool. And every single time I'm like, oh.
Hey, look at you. Whoa.
Did you guys cut that rope so that the carriage thing slid down the hill and like killed?
Yes.
Yes.
On
absolutely.
accident, but then I was like, sweet. That was
No,
cool.
I did the classic, killed them all, and then went back up and was like, what do? And I sliced it, and I was like, oh, that would have been much easier.
Yeah. And the camera's like, like changing perspective so many times as that thing's going down. And the same thing with like in that waterfall area, like I killed the enemies and then I'm like, oh, and then the bridge fell. I was like, okay, that probably would have been a really cool thing if I would have timed that. Oh, I guess there's like an achievement for that as well. Yeah, Sean Mills says, I like there's an achievement in the remaster for knocking a demon down a waterfall, and it's called See You Next Fall.
So
Of course. Of course
Temple of
they do
Doom
it.
vibes.
Yeah. I after that cart going down the hill area, did you all also have a really tough time with like the 3 or 4 minotaurs?
4 big guys.
The 4 big
yes.
pig boys.
They're intense.
Oh, is that where you get the like the sword with the ceremonial sword?
I think that's in
Yes.
that area.
They're
Yeah.
around there, yeah.
I that was like I didn't even try and fight them. I like grabbed the 3 items in there and just ran in and ran out.
Oh, I didn't even think. I guess you can do that. Yeah.
That's my Dark Souls instincts, baby. I'm just like I'm
Rolling
grabbing
in.
the items and getting gone.
We talked about it a little last time, but that's the thing that I like about this game is like I'm kind of in Resident Evil mode while I'm playing it.
Yeah.
But like ammo's not an issue. So like I do engage in every fight because like I enjoy the combat. So like yeah, but it is nice that you have that option to just sort of bypass it, Resident Evil style, if you will, or Dark Souls style, if you will. But
some rooms it just
better
makes so much more sense to just run through. It's like, well, if I stand here and fight, I'm going to lose health and time and not really get anything. So I'm just going to try to like zip by.
Yeah.
Definitely some spots like that.
That didn't really occur to me until I started playing as Kaede.
Totally.
Where I was like, oh, I don't get anything from beating these guys. Like there's literally no reason to fight because I don't get anything out of this.
Right. I just have the chance of lowering my health. And so at that point, yeah, it's cool. I like playing as her, but it's like you're not giving me a reason to fight. I'm so used to just having those orbs pop out at this point. It's not doing it for me. Quilgrim writes in and says, I found myself enjoying some of Kaede's move sets a bit more than Semenosuke's. Specifically her dodges, like the backflip for a backwards dodge especially, and her quick attacks felt satisfying to perform. The only thing I didn't like was the jankiness in aiming the kunai and the limited options for restoring health when controlling her. I do love having the kunai like on triangle, just like one button projectile. It's like, God, that's so satisfying. I wish Semenosuke had something. I wish the bow and arrow was just that quick, or anything could compete with
I could
that.
have some like Naruto paper bombs though. Do you put a little paper bomb on that thing? Throw that,
Would've
boom.
been nice. Would have been sweet. And then Quilgrim says, P.S. I have to get this off my chest. Kaede blurting out, have to tell him! After she saw Guildenstern snatch Princess Yuki in the prison was so damn funny. I was so confused because I had a moment of like, what are you telling him? Like the princess has been captured? Like that's default for the entire game. Like what is the urgent news? I saw Guildenstern again. I saw him one more time. He was a freak. Like there's nothing to say.
It's jumping ahead a little bit, but my other Kaede thing that just genuinely made me laugh out loud, and I took a screenshot of it, is her epilogue. You know,
it's like, ridiculous.
It just I have it here. It's, on the other hand, Kaede desperately searched for the missing Semenosuke, but never found him. And it's just like a picture of her. It's like, well, I guess that's it for her.
No, it's not even that.
No.
It's not that.
And it's also like that. Then she died 12 years later.
Yeah.
14 years later, just died.
What? And it's like she went to serve some other master. I'm like, okay, is that some historical figure that's going to be interesting? But I'm totally with you. Tokyo Game Life is like, what is up with the ending saying Kaede died 14 years later? She's not a historical character. It's a completely random inclusion. Imagine if you beat Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and the ending cutscene said, by the way, Tifa dies in about a decade. Like, that is genuine.
We definitely aren't going to have her in the sequels. Just a heads up.
Why would they ever do that?
Don't know.
And so Matt asked, like,
maybe some players assumed she was immortal.
I assume that of every character, unless I learn the date they die.
I'm just imagining, like, if every movie did this, if every game, it's such a silly idea of like, think of like the ending of Jurassic Park, like fly away in the helicopter, fade to black, and it says Alan Grant died 14 years later, peacefully in his bed. It's like, what? Why? Stop it. Why would you bring this up?
So weird.
But Matt's wondering.
Apparently in the Super Smash Brothers, the Onimusha Super Smash Brother one.
Yes.
They retcon this and she finds him. She like finds Semenosuke. So there's like a little retcon.
Good.
Well,
she deserves it.
I got good news for you, Huber.
That's good. She gets closure.
Yeah.
Before she dies 14 years later.
Yeah, right.
I finished the game last night, and then today I was jonesing for like, I just want a little more Guildenstern in my life, and so I booted up Onimusha Blade Warriors, and I beat that today as well.
You beat it?
Yeah. Well,
Wait, can you play as Guildenstern?
Okay. I went in desperately hoping to be able to finish it as Guildenstern. I mean, it's like a fighting game. It's like 10 stages. It's like beating a Tekken story. It's like whatever, you know. But Semenosuke's in there. I did not play as Kaede. I'm sorry. I'm sure she's great, but I played Semenosuke.
But she was in there. She's a playable fighter.
She is a playable fighter in there. And my favorite thing is playable fighters, very unexpected. No Guildenstern for playable fighters, even in the unlockable stuff, but they do have Marcellus. And then they have one of the characters at the main title screen is Basic Zombie, the guy with the big hat, just like basic enemy 101. And then like the little 3-eyed jumping ninja guys, they're in there. They have their own storyline.
Like non-named, just random grunt?
Yes. And so like I was very curious how it all would tie together. So they have a whole storyline, right, of like, oh, we're all going on this adventure. But I wanted to see like, how is this going to work if you're playing as Marcellus? And so if you jump into Marcellus, then they have like Guildenstern cutscenes throughout the entire game where he's like, go kill the Oni, defeat them forever for me. Like it is delightfully absurd to have him in there. And so I was like, okay, I beat the whole game as Marcellus. This is going to be great. And then I was like, well, I want to see what this zombie storyline is. Yeah. And so I booted that up. It's the exact same cutscene of Guildenstern be like, go defeat the Oni. It's just like, okay, it's just anybody evil, you'll have the same Guildenstern. Yeah. But then
Hey Ben.
Yeah.
Can you please say pathetic human worm?
Pathetic human worm, something like that. But then at the end, like after you beat it, it's this weird detail, and I don't know if it's like a secret ending or something, but Guildenstern just goes like, "You've defeated them all, but there's one more Oni. Go get them." And then like cuts to credits. I'm like, what? I don't understand who this one more Oni. And they're just teasing the future or something. It's a weird detail.
He's the player. It's a fourth wall, bro.
Oh,
Yeah.
Guildenstern
Well,
seems
wait.
like the type who could see
That's
us.
funny.
Maybe if you beat the game with everybody.
Every character.
I bet it is something like that. And I was very excited because I wanted to beat the game because I was looking up the unlockable characters because I'm like, is Guildenstern going to be in this freaking game? Which, by the way, the game isn't bad. I kind of like it. It's like fighting it, but there's like kind of like 3 layers. You can like jump
Yeah, it's
between
cool.
them. Yeah.
It's odd. It's like not what you would expect from Onimusha just looking at gameplay, but it does. It just looks like it looks very Smash Brothers inspired. You know?
But do you remember who the unlockable characters are for this game? So I looked it up. Mega Man, but specifically Mega Man EXE from Battle Network.
So sick.
And then also Zero's in there. But if you get
cool.
Mega Man, then
What
you start.
Zero though? Do you know? I'll have to, I
I think it's just baseline Zero, normal Zero.
Well, there's like Game Boy Advance, Mega Man Zero, and there's.
Ugh. Kyle, we're trying to have a cool conversation about games, not a game conversation for
I'm
dorks.
so sorry.
Come on,
buddy.
man.
I'm very concerned with.
Yo,
what
shout out to
Zero
Zero, though.
is.
Shout out to Zero.
Shout
Shout
out to
out
Zero.
to Zero.
But it is fun because if you
Incredible hair.
start the campaign as Mega Man, then it has like dialogue from Lan from Battle Network, like the kid, and he goes, Mega Man, Jack into the world of Onimusha, and then it just like it looks like a
So
terrible model of Mega Man like fighting on the
sick.
roof and stuff. It's pretty silly.
For those wondering, it's the Mega Man Zero version of Zero.
Everyone, stand down at home, please. I know you're all in arms.
Makes a difference.
Everyone,
As
relax.
a gaming studio, does Capcom have the best unlockables historically? I would say yes.
I mean,
Great question.
there's a game called Smash Brothers, which is pretty good. Tough to,
Unlockables, though? I mean,
I
like
think so.
Mega Man appearing in an Onimusha game is
That's
pretty wild.
sick.
Where like
Yeah.
a billion different, game, like that's Smash Brothers' selling point. You know what I mean?
Right,
It's like,
okay.
we have a million different franchises. Yeah, I'm looking at Zero gameplay now. This is cool. I hope like Onimusha 2, like Capcom's
So
pretty
good.
good about it with Street Fighter of like, we're going to throw in like those other random games that got limited releases and stuff, you know? I would love if Onimusha 2 is just like, by the way, we're throwing Blade Warriors in there for you. Like, we're not going to give this, it doesn't get its own remaster, but we'll throw it in here for you. Congratulations.
Yeah, it is cool to see like the
Takes place-
environments.
Takes place after 2, so maybe they'll get us.
Ooh, that'd be interesting. That'd be cool to unlock it for sure. Let's see. Can't Blink says, why does Kaede seem so much more powerful than Seminosuke? She can absolutely body those invisible guys without getting them out of stun lock. Her upgraded blade makes quick work of the enemies that it feels on par with the Bishamon blade. Is it just due to her lack of getting upgrades that she has to be more powerful from the get-go?
Oh, maybe.
That's interesting. I mean, it's like, yeah, her attack is really quick, and it doesn't like. I guess it doesn't like leave her open as long, but like, I did not feel powerful as her because the experience was just watching my health go down over time and not being able to get it back, which I really enjoyed, and I thought it was like a cool kind of pacing change, but it was like. Her sections felt more like survival horror just because I was like, it's not coming back.
Spencer S. wrote in with that exact thing. Yep.
I was definitely more stressed during all of the Kaede ones and I had to use. I was so angry when I had to use a medicine while Kaede. You know, I was like, this feels like a waste.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't know what
Does
else.
she get her own?
No, it's shared.
She
it's
doesn't
shared.
get her own inventory?
I found
Okay.
out the wrong hard way because I was like, oh, I guess I'll use some of this. Then went back to Seminosuke. I was like, oh crap, I'm out of medicines because I kept running around as her. Damn it.
She kind of feels like a glass cannon. Like I get the power that they're talking about because if you
Yeah.
have the red like glowing blade or whatever, it does feel really strong. And I feel like they fall over pretty quickly too when you just like wail on them with that red blade.
Yeah.
And then her like down stab is so fast too. It's like yeah.
Yeah. It is.
But then her health is just so small and she takes like a lot of damage.
Yeah, it is such a smart idea of having. It's a really interesting design conundrum of like, okay, she can't go through the demon doors where you need the orb unlocks to get through, but then there are these ninja doors. You need to use the ninja kit to go through these certain things. Just like seeing that different layout of like, that's gotta be so tough to map out where she can and can't go. And so then every time you're saying Inosuke and you see that little ninja door, it's like, okay, I know I'm gonna be switching to her. But also I thought it was so smart just to have like her kind of, when you control her entire environment seems to be just thematically tied together with things being on fire. It's like, that's a smart way to kind of rework this too. It's like when you're her, the world is on fire and you have to dodge the fire.
Silent Hill 2 approach.
Yeah.
I was just about to say she's Angela.
It's the same idea. Yeah, it's exactly it. and dodging around like those different furnaces and stuff like that. Like I thought it was cool just for shaking up this world that would be boring to go through again, but to make it seem more interesting, I guess. I
really like that last, or like close to last section, just on the water there when you go through as him and then you go through as her. I think it's just like the strongest designed part of the game, because mostly it's like a really small space if you really look at just the whole square footage of this whole game.
Yeah.
But yeah, that part is so cool because there's just like a couple extra ways to go. And then obviously when you go through it as her, it's a lot different because you're like picking those locks, taking the shortcut. Just really like it.
Yeah.
And then of course you get rewarded with that boat sitting there.
Oh, don't get me started on this boat. Oh, yeah.
This area by itself, even without the boat, is really gorgeous. Like just getting to that area, I was like, oh, this is a very cool, back half of the game area.
Yeah. And I love too, just like, we're so used to kind of being in the confines of the keep, just to be like, oh, I'm back in the natural world and it's beautiful. And especially that spot where it's like, you kind of get to run in the shallow water and there's the fish there.
So cool.
And then when you come back through it and there's like a couple, I believe, of like the big invisible cyborg ninja guys. Like, yeah, this is just a cool spot to fight these guys, is kind of in the water there.
Also, Resident Evil training, I was like, the fish have got to be health. Like, I was like over the fish trying to slash them.
Yeah. Speaking of Resident Evil 4, I love the section of this game. Then I realized I like these sections in all games when you're climbing the tower and it's like the ramp going all the way up. It's like Resident Evil 4 has that with the barrels coming down, like Metal Gear Solid. I'm trying to think, like, anytime that's in any game, it's always satisfying. Just like, maybe it's Donkey Kong
felt
ropes.
like Metal Gear Solid because it's like the MGS thing, because I was like, wow, I keep getting shot by enemies that I can't see. This is just like Metal Gear Solid.
Scott, and then you finally get up to him and you're like, you, I'm gonna get you.
Oh, anytime. Like, there's that one part when you're Sam Inosuke too, where there's like the balcony with like 3 archers on it. And every time it's like, when I get up that ladder, I'm going to destroy you guys. It's going to be so satisfying. Just wait for me to get up there. But speaking of getting shot out of nowhere, I rewatched this and I'm still confused. Maybe I don't understand what's going on in the physical world. But when Kaede is like talking to the princess and she's trying to like unlock the thing, there's a part where she just gets like hit with a dart. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I interpret it as she like messed up trying to unpick the lock and like her little key like flew out. And hurt her. Okay. And it just like gives an excuse for the princess to like take care of her a little bit so that she also is in love with the princess. I think so.
Okay. Got it. That makes more sense because I was just like, what is hurting her? I don't understand what's happening here. And then of course my favorite is then when Guildenstern kidnaps the princess in that spot and she goes, I will save you, Princess Yuki. And then Guildenstern goes, no, you won't. He goes, you can die here alone. And then just fades into the night. Like, oh.
He really is was it the Crypt Master?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like,
Speaking of which,
but he just say how far is falling
get a free
like backward into the shadows in the prison cell.
Perfect narrative work in every way.
The like Hojo type character is always my favorite. The like right hand person, number 2, number 3 in command, just like making some evil experiments. Yeah,
they don't have the pressure on them to be the big bad. They get to be a little more flamboyant, like a Starscream or something in Transformers. Like, you need that just freaky second in command. It's just the best archetype. Super server, except for Hojo. He's a little too freaky. He's too much.
Freaks me out.
He's having too much fun, and it's kind of in an evil way that's not fun anymore. Super Cerberus writes in, they say, hey, can we appreciate how many times Sam Inosuke raises an angry eyebrow at a new enemy type, and then the next cutscene just ends? Even when a clone of himself appears out of darkness with no context whatsoever, he's barely phased.
He traveled the world, man. He's seen everything.
He saw
Empire Strikes Back. He knew what to expect.
It really was like, as credits were rolling in this game, I was like, wait, what was that clone? Did Guildenstern just make a clone? What was going on?
I also like the clone's like facial expression because it like comes in and it's like.
Yeah, and I did get to experience that facial expression 9 times as I died over and over again during that fight.
That was a tough fight until I realized you just need to be blocking 100% of the time.
I read a GameFAQs thing that said the same thing.
Yeah. I think I can't remember how many times I did that fight. Maybe just like 3 or something. But yeah, eventually I was like, okay, if I just block forever, it did. But I mean, that makes the fight take a really long time.
Well, yeah, because it's just you keep blocking. When you block the magic spell, you'll get magic orbs, and then when he starts up doing the magic, you just do your magic attack in it.
I think that was my favorite fight in the game. And it was a combination of that save point being right there, that cutscene being the shortest, just get to do their stupid eye move, and that's it. But then also it's just like, I like just that good old American classic boss fight of like, you guys have the same moves, it's just going to be a duel, there's no
mirror match.
Yeah, there's no tricks, no gimmicks, just who's the best in this little...
real easy for us to program and design.
Yeah, totally.
It's a really light lift for everyone involved in the production. We already have the character model, we already have the move set.
Totally.
We're good to go.
It's definitely easier when you have 3 mana bars, so you can use all 3 of your special moves.
That does seem important.
That one actually was not. That was not hard without knowing that, because every time you deflect an attack, you get like a pretty good amount of magic.
Yeah.
So.
But I still feel like we should hold Huber accountable for being the expert in this game, that he didn't sit us down in the last episode and explain to us, switch the weapons, you idiots.
I didn't know. I didn't know you didn't know. I didn't know.
We don't know anything.
You need to assume I am very stupid.
Indexical writes in to say, honestly, what is Samanosuke's problem? I'm not sure if they're going for a stoic hardman vibe with his character, but he just comes across as arrogant. When the demon gate opens and Yumamoru is kidnapped, Kaede there's emoting with urgency, saying what they need to do and save him, and Sam just mumbles, fine. This poor woman has had to attempt that dang block slide puzzle 20 odd times to save his ass, and her only reward seems to be your disdain. He is maybe the biggest zero of a protagonist I've encountered in a long while. Like, the only ounce that they give him is him being like, travel the world, it's important. Like that, that's it, right?
I don't know. His
Okay,
facial
and
expression is pretty good.
Look, the last FMV, I was like hooting and hollering.
That is true.
That's
Yeah.
action.
So
That's not dialogue.
That final cut, maybe I'm jumping ahead, but when he goes like Super Saiyan and it's like,
Usha hype, yeah.
that's not gameplay, sorry.
Doesn't
So
count.
that
You
final
don't get
cutscene
that.
Next time.
gave me a heart attack because, like I said, it took me 7 tries to beat that boss, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm going Super Saiyan. Does this mean there is a second
Phase
round
2.
to this boss?" Yeah, and thankfully, no. You just slice his arm entirely up the middle, which was
The coolest thing I've
metal
ever
as hell.
seen.
That was so cool.
It does feel like a scrapped idea of like, they probably wanted to do a boss fight with him in his Super Saiyan
Because it
form.
feels like
right?
it's gonna be like Hyper Beam Mother Brain. It's like, okay, the shoe's on the other foot. And yeah, I was also relieved it just ended, and I liked watching the cutscene where his eyeballs popped out.
But then it's just like, he powers down and then Nobunaga walks out and they stare at each other. The end, but it's like, it feels like he should have gone Super Saiyan, then fought Nobunaga, and like that. I'm sure that was on the table at some point. Like, it's wild to tease that in such a weird way.
Yeah. There's definitely... They address some of that stuff later on, but for if you just isolate it and look at just this game, there's a feeling of wanting just a tiny bit more there for sure.
Yeah.
Is this,
Say more than
is
a
this just
tiny
like
bit,
the
yeah.
Halo 2 thing or something, where when the second game came out, it's like, all right, finish the fight now, or is that just...
Well, no, the second game, Hubert, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, it's a different protagonist. It's like a completely
Yep,
different,
Jubei.
right? Yeah, they don't get back to Samanosuke till 3.
Yeah. And 2 is much later too. A lot of time passes. It's a different era.
So
Yeah, it's very strange.
it's weird. So it's more than 10 years after the first game, right?
Oh yeah.
So what's weird here, and Hazard writes in and says, I was surprised to learn that finishing the original PS2 release unlocks a short teaser trailer for the sequel that they call Onimusha Warlords 2. A game we now know to be Onimusha 2 Samurai's Destiny. You can find it on YouTube if you're playing the remaster and are curious, but is it just me that wishes this practice could come back to the industry? Imagine completing 7 Rebirth and seeing 20 seconds of cutscene from the third game in a working title.
So awesome. That'd be amazing. When you saw The Matrix 2 in theaters and they had the trailer for The
Yes.
Matrix 3.
But it was just like
Back
that.
to the Future 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so cool.
But just games take so long to make now. I just don't think you can do it. But I totally remember in Age of Empires 1, in the instruction booklet, they have stay tuned for Age of Empires 2. And they had all these screenshots that looked nothing like the Age of Empires 2 that eventually released. And that's like the case with this, where in the original version on the PS2 here, like at the start menu, you can watch like special trailer after you beat the game. And they have like, a super short trailer for Onimusha 2, but it's not the Onimusha 2 that we know. Like it says it's 10 years later and the main character has like, it has like an eye patch. It's like a completely different face. It's not the actor that they used in 2. So it's like a cool remnant of where they thought they were going, because these games were so fast. I mean, the next game was out within a year, you know?
So
I would
wild,
still love that, even if it's entirely wrong like that. I still think that would be fun. If it's just like, you finish this game, here's a teaser for the next game. It'll be out in 5 years and it will change entirely.
They should do the 22 Jump Street credits for every game to show you the next big sequel.
Sadly, though, people would take issue with it, though, and they would feel like they were being promised things that, you know what I mean? Like if
I know gamers don't deserve it, but I want it.
but it doesn't mean we don't want it.
They take it in bad faith.
And I mean, in a way, without going down the Final Fantasy VII rabbit hole, I do think Remake kind of does this with their cryptic, weird ending with Sephiroth stuff. Like, I do think that stuff from the third game, you know, everything that Sephiroth said about like 7 seconds till the end of the world, Cloud, like all that stuff, I do think is going to be like a callback eventually in some weird way. And by the way, that trailer for Onimusha 2, it ends with the logo for Onimusha Warlords 2, and then it just goes, Onimusha lives. It's pretty good. It's pretty sick, man.
It does live. In 2025, Onimusha lives.
No one saw it coming, but somehow Onimusha does live. Gemst wrote in, and they said, hey, are you surprised that this series ceased to exist past the PS2 until the recent announcement of Way of the Sword? What happened?
Oh, 100%. I've wanted this series to come back forever, and it always confused me, because it's like, well, the franchise was successful. They had a bunch of entries. Why not? Why not have another one?
No one. Blade Warriors didn't sell well enough, I guess.
Just kind of diminishing returns as the series went on.
Yeah.
Because 3 was really hyped, but then 4 was like a departure. It was like pretty different. It was more like Devil May Cry style.
I saw the reviews were pretty good though, because I didn't even know that a 4
really
existed,
good.
honestly. But it was like it got like 8s out of 10s and stuff. I saw from like GameSpot and stuff.
Super good game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, I saw that apparently they just get kind of longer and longer with each series. Like I saw like the how long to beat for 2 is like 10 hours or something like that. Ricky Miru is asking, like, what do you want for Way of the Sword, Huber? Do you want it to be 5 hours, 10 hours? What's the ideal Onimusha length?
Oh, like 10 to 15, I think, is probably pretty awesome.
Okay.
I hope there's like some cool, maybe like side content. Like, I hope they really tap into Onimusha 2's a little more of the RPG, maybe like a little hub area that you can interact with people, upgrade. So, but it's all about finding that balance for me of replayability, because I love replaying like Onimusha and Resident Evil. Just like going back and getting those unlocks, getting a higher, grade. So just finding the right balance, because like with Resident Evil 2 and 3, you can just like, oh, I feel like playing those, I'm going to go through that really quick. But like Resident Evil 4 is a lot longer, so it's not one you can just like pick up and like breeze through really quick.
Yeah.
So
but it's
like,
also...
do we want like a big epic, or like something that we can just always pick up and run through? That's kind of the question of the direction, I guess.
It's like the replayability of Onimusha and like the first Resident Evils comes from like, I know the map really well. Exactly. I can run through it really fast. And I have played Resident Evil 4 1,000 times and Sekiro 1,000 times, because the replayability comes from like skill building, which doesn't really, it's like if I played Onimusha again, I would be like a little better at the combat, but it's not like it is deep enough to really improve that. And so I am curious if new Onimusha will have like, you're going to want to play this like a Sekiro, like, a Devil May Cry, to like understand the combat, or if it's still going to be, it's like Resident Evil 2 Remake, another great game. It's not like they made the shooting super complicated in that. It's still kind of a map knowledge game.
Yeah, but the hardcore mode on that, it's insane. That is insanely hard. Like, you take one bite from full health, you're in danger. So it's like, but like you said, the map knowledge, then it's just like, okay, where can I run by where can I get and save those resources? Yeah, I love like the puzzle box nature of just, figuring out the map and min-maxing it, so to speak.
Can we talk about the bee lady?
Okay. I'll kick it off with the question that you want to get to, of course, which is the one and only question that can be asked. Leaf writes in and says, where does the demon bee lady rank in the Thirst Council? Here we go. Put her on the board. There is a lot of... When she transforms, the moan meter is off the charts for her turning into the crazy insect. Like, it's grotesque. Or
giant insect eyes are like my number one phobia. They freak me the hell out. They freak me out.
Like the fly aspect, or the praying mantis, even just anything about...
Either way. Okay. Just like those big insect eyes, like so scary.
What do you think?
So scary.
What about like if you took Kermit the Frog and his little ping pong eyes? What if you made them look like flies' eyes? Do you think you'd like that, or would you not like that?
No, I'd be freaked out. I would look away.
I found horrible just seeing the expression. Some of my favorite FMVs in games are the Parasite Eve monster transformations where they're all turning into like mitochondria or whatever the plot of that game is. But like, I did not expect that, 3/4 of the way through Onimusha, I was going to get a Parasite Eve level, just like body horror transformation in the way
masters
that this
of bioweapons over at Capcom.
Yeah. And of course, that cutscene begins with her like seductively stepping out with her leg from the shadows and all this, like Jessica Rabbit, where she turns into this absolute beast. And I do look like
was not like. Did we meet her earlier before we met her there, or like? She was just like, hello, I'm here, I'm a boss.
Was she not the lady who asked for help earlier?
Was she the one?
I just assumed she was. The lady that like, ran in and was like trying to get Kaede and stuff to help her.
I think so. Yeah, because it's like her...
I think earlier on she like kidnaps someone and like bounces out.
Okay.
Like just flies out of the window or whatever.
Yeah, and then that's when the Seminosuke clone like punches Kaede and stuff.
Right. Okay.
Like,
okay. Yes, I do remember that now. All right.
So she was we knew her well, intimately. Right. It was a shock when she turned out to be.
That's the Bechdel test, easily.
Flying colors.
Speaking of flying, Tess writes in and says, so seeing Hecuba's transformation sequence reminded me a lot of Slitterhead. So I went to see if it was a direct inspiration. Apparently, Slitterheads are based on Yagoizi. Sorry for my Japanese. And they mentioned that some other media like Gantz, but not Onimusha, was an inspiration. Likewise, I couldn't find anything about the inspiration of Hecuba or any of the Genma besides Hecuba being a character in Hamlet. Does anyone know if there's a larger, more obvious inspiration for Hecuba, or did Onimusha just invent mantis ladies?
So many Hamlet characters in this game.
When I was thinking about in the other direction, in Resident Evil 7, when you fight like the wife, or like the kind of matriarch of the family, she has a similar kind of horrible insect transformation that made me think of this.
Huh.
Yeah, the Gantz, I don't know, do you guys know Gantz?
I don't know.
I've watched anime, right?
Yeah, I've watched a fair bit of it. It is like a lot of like horrific yokai monsters that appear at night and stuff like that, that does make sense.
Classic folklore.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Gantz is weird.
I'm not like a weird bloodlusty type of guy. I'm not like you sickos like Huber, like show me the gore in Mortal Kombat, rip out the spine, all that stuff.
Gore is beautiful.
All right, I get it
when done right.
That said, I was a little bit bummed out when it's like you beat the boss, which by the way, I was so bummed out because it was like I took out all of our little freaks and there were just yellow orbs for days and I had like a sliver of health left and I'm like, I'm just going to take one shot at this lady before I absorb these. And I took that shot and that was the end of the boss fight and I lost all of those yellow orbs. It was just killing me. But I was bummed out. It's like, okay, you shoot her, end of the boss fight, then she dies, and in a cutscene she like comes back and then gets hit by a beam and then dies from the building collapsing. It's like, at that point, why not just let me kill her with the boss fight? The fact that like the cutscene gets the kill and I don't get the kill for this huge boss is a real bummer.
You also don't get any experience, right? Because you get like blown away,
right?
And you don't get a chance to absorb all her essence, which is like that's the whole reason I was doing this thing.
Yeah,
for
that
one, princess be damned.
Like
I want the soul.
bugs. in the meantime that gave you plenty of experience.
That is true. Yeah.
For that one, I thought it was just giving Kaede some hype. You know, she's like, I lit the explosive barrels or whatever. Like, she's bringing this whole building down. So I thought that was hype.
That is cool.
I was like, dude, cool. And she's like she's like up on the rafters up there, just like, get this way, get out of there. Like, so cool.
That is like the best.
My thing is fire. It's gonna be bad if you're in here.
That is, at least it's some bonding moment between them. Normally, it's just her walking up to Samanosuke and be like, "This thing happened." He's like, "Fine."
I must tell him.
Yeah, I know, but the fact that they get to like jump from a burning building together, it's like, hey, you guys are friends. If you jump from a burning building with somebody, you're automatically best friends forever. I would assume. Redimus Rex writes in and says, the Hecuba transformation scene was wild and it caught me by surprise. First half of the game has you fighting skeletons, ninjas, and lizards. Then they just throw a bunch of bugs at you. I like the change of enemies at that moment. It kept the combat and pace interesting leading to the finale. Also, I know the game wants you to use your bow/gun to battle Hecuba, but with how clunky it was to use and a wave of bug minions, I just used that wind magic vortex to take her out.
Yeah, that was great for her.
That was very good. It's very satisfying in the fighting game. There's like treasure chests that pop up and you can like open them up. And one of the things, you can get a little like icon for the wind magic. And if you throw that and it hits an enemy, then because you can fight like 10 people at a time, then the wind magic thing like takes out everybody. They all have their own individual cyclone. It's like a more satisfying version of that wind cyclone.
OP.
It's so OP, you guys.
Not with just that boss, but in general, I guess maybe this isn't relevant if people didn't know about the magic meters, but like I started, after not using the lightning katana for most of the game, that kind of became my main, just because the magic attack was like, I just want something that's going to focus kill one enemy.
Yeah,
and
single
its
target.
little like slash thing was so strong.
Yeah, I think I like the fire one. But I'm curious if there's actually that much of a difference, because I always had that feeling of like, if I need to just really damage this one person, I'm going to light him on fire and blast him with this. But lightning's probably better off for that,
That
you
was
think?
my thought too.
And the animation is just longer. I have no idea if it does more damage, but I felt like I was doing more.
Yeah,
I
more
mean,
satisfying.
Yeah, the game isn't that worried about numbers, even when you get like, Kaede's new dagger, and it's just like, this one looks different. It's like, I assume this is doing more damage. I'm not going to do the math myself, but I could use just some number somewhere from this game, but whatever.
Yeah, it's so funny with like, because we've been playing games for so long and just taking like modern conveniences and like, looking at that in past games, and it's like we're so obsessed with numbers now and like, quest completions now, and yeah, it's just sometimes it's just so refreshing to like not have to worry about any of that. It's just like, all right, go and attack these like demon freaks. Let's go.
Yeah, well,
it makes the final boss, any boss, it makes it just a lot more stressful. Like, I really feel the weight of the boss fight when I have absolutely no idea how many more times I need to smack them.
Right. Well, I'm trying to remember. I know it was divisive in the Monster Hunter community. I'm trying to remember, because did they add numbers, or they added health bars?
They have numbers. I still think there's no health bars on the monsters themselves, but you do know how much damage you're doing now, and yeah, pretty divided on that. I don't like it's helpful, but I think the fact that there's not just like a health bar makes it totally tolerable, because you're just like, okay, well, that is a big number, but compared to what?
Yeah, when you wouldn't want to see you would not actually want to see the Monster Hunter health
Absolutely
bar and
not.
be like, okay, this is going to be 25 more minutes of hitting this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. There is something so satisfying, especially being scared of just watching these intro cutscenes again. Like when you get that final hit and it just like locks up a little bit on the PS2 before going to like the big cutscene, and when you kill a boss here, it's like, oh my God. Like I shouted out every time it happened in this game.
Yeah,
you hear your PS2 like,
oh God, that thing. Or Wars. Yeah.
The feeling though of like when you kill it and you kind of walk out a door and you're like, I don't really know where I am. And probably one of these two paths is a save point.
Yes.
And I don't remember which one. And it's just like I don't think I never actually died after a boss fight without being able to save, but like the stress was there. And even, it's like people used to talk about this with like from soft games, but like they are still really consistent now. And like they're going to give you a bonfire after a boss fight. And just the idea of like, I might have to do that whole thing again. Like, I might have to watch the cutscene and I beat it.
It's terrifying for sure. Did you I assume this is all running dandy in the remaster and stuff, but like I'm curious if back in the day it also chugged a lot, because you were like on PS2, there were several times where I'm like, did this thing lock up? I don't know what's going on. Like, especially in the Demon Tower, there's certain like, there's like what, 3 different camera angles within the Demon Tower on each floor, and like every transition there, especially the first one, it's like 4 seconds of just like locking up before it'll pivot. Like it's really crazy.
Are you playing this off of a disc on a PS2?
I am playing it on a modded PS2 and loading it off a hard drive. Is that going to be the big issue, you think?
Oh, I just think it might run, like it might just be pulling differently.
That could be.
I don't really know.
I just remember like Resident Evil on PS1, you know, anytime you change scenes, there's like a 1 second load. You'll like run to the edge, it'll change, it'll be like, huh.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I feel like just when we were kids, we didn't really like know or care. But then when you go back and you play like N64, PS1, or even PS2 sometimes, you're like, wait, what? This is running poorly. Like, did it always run this bad?
Yeah, getting into random encounters in a game, like there's a loading screen. It takes forever to boot up like a random encounter in Star Ocean. It's like, what were we doing? That's so much time.
Now we're all pissed when it's like, oh, it's only 55 frames, not 60.
Spencer Routine writes in and says, I'm curious for those playing the original version on a CRT, is it difficult for you to see the enemies that turn invisible and pop out from under the ground to attack? Their outline is clear as day in the remake on a nice monitor, and I'm wondering what the point of them going invisible is. No, it also is the most obvious thing ever on a CRT. It's not an issue whatsoever, but I do like those guys. I like those big, easy chumps. Like, I was never really scared of them, except for that first time with Kaede, when it's kind of the boss fight there. I'm like, okay, what is this guy? Is this a whole boss fight? Should I be scared? And it turns out, no, they're totally fine.
What do you guys think Kojima thought of those Gray Fox enemies? Do you think he commented on them or thought about them? Or
yeah, I think he drew like fan art of them.
He was heads down on Metal Gear Solid 2 at that point.
Yeah, he hadn't like slept in 6 months. I was wondering with the CRT thing, like so much of me being able to tell what was an interactable in this game was looking at which items were like higher resolution than the background.
Oh,
you know, I could
interesting.
tell like, oh, that's a book that I can pick up because it's rendered in, 1080 as opposed to, whatever the background is.
Yeah.
Were there just things where you like couldn't tell what you were able to interact with?
Yeah, that was definitely an issue. The books, you could see it look a little bit different, but definitely things were blurring quite a bit. It was nice when you get that item, I think at the top of the tower, right, which shows you where all the fluorite is.
Yeah.
So that like is all sparkly and stuff, because you couldn't see fluorite at all before that. It was just like random guessing where it was going to be, and you could pick it up.
Yeah, you get the item that reveals the glint of it.
Yeah. Okay.
What was the fluorite for?
Oh, it's unlockables.
It's just collectible.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
I think it helps your score too.
Okay.
It is, again, it's a very like old game thing where I was like, I feel like even if there's a reward for getting all of these, give me something for getting like one of them. Like, it's literally useless unless I get all of them.
I think 10 gives you a costume. I think I remember that.
Yeah, we got
Man.
There's-
So
I
is
think
that how
I
you
got
get the
9.
panda?
Yeah, is that how it
I think so.
So
By the way,
Jaren,
that panda continued to be absurd, but it was very funny where it would cut to a pre-rendered scene and suddenly Semenosuke would look like, normal.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, hold on, he's not a panda? What happened?
Jaron writes in and says, any of y'all get the 20 fluoride pieces? It unlocks a truly awful minigame called Oni Spirits, where the goal is to break pots before the monsters do. And you have to fully complete all Oni Spirits levels to unlock the ultimate mode, which lets you play through the game with the Bishamon sword and all kinds of other goodies in it for a super easy mode throughout the entire thing.
Wait, so you have to beat like a bad mini game even after you get all of the
Apparently.
unlockables?
Yeah, I unlocked that like one time in my life when I was a kid, and I like never messed with that ever again.
What was in this game? I should know. If this is really embarrassing, I'll absolutely edit this out. But every once in a while when I'd pop in to upgrade my gauntlet, it would say like, the gauntlet has upgraded. Like,
What does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm glad I'm not alone. Like, what did that do?
Yeah, I was like, my immediate thought was it either gives me more per orb I get, or the orbs stay out longer. But I was
you
like
pull
trying to
them
do
in
the
faster?
math. Yeah, I was
They-
like trying to do the math in my head, and I was like, wait, I was like confused. With the numbers, but then I was like,
on
are they
Neo
stacking?
Seeker, it says you absorb souls faster.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, weird. Okay.
And are there more than 3? I think mine evolved 3 times. Is that how many there are?
Yeah, it was like gold by the end,
yeah, it
like super gold looking.
digivolved
I
into
feel like
ultimate.
I didn't get any of those on this run. Is it just an item that you pick up?
It's just
No,
when
it's
you
just-
go into the menu or the magic mirror every once in a while. It just says your gauntlet has been upgraded.
Your total
notice.
your total orbs are on the side. It'll say how many total you've got. And I think one of the final ones was like 50,000. I had like 51,000 when it procced.
Okay, got it. And then what was the soul absorber item? Like I didn't know you can trigger those, and it's just like a temporary thing where all orbs will automatically go to you. Is that the idea?
It's a trap you put down, and if they come in it, you one shot them or they disintegrate. It's like really powerful. There's only a few of them in the whole game.
Oh, so it's not for the orbs
never
at all.
saw one of those.
Oh,
I had one, but I
wait,
never
I
used
was-
it.
I assumed. I think I even used them thinking that what it would do is like, if an enemy died, rather than the orb going floating around, they would zoom to me. But it makes
ghost
the
trap.
enemies
Yeah.
themselves weaker.
Yeah. I was using it in the 20 floor dungeon.
oh, weird. Okay.
Towards the lower floors. I'd throw that down.
When I was running,
Did anyone else get the talisman? You have to like cut the rope to make the bridge so you can like walk over to it.
Yeah.
It's not like a crazy puzzle or anything, but I
I
could
missed
see.
that this time.
Yeah, you shoot it with an arrow, I think, the rope. But it ended up being an annoyance because it would basically like give you full health when you died. But I was like, I want to use this for the final boss. I don't want to use the bee lady. So I would just like die or like just load my save because it's like I'm saving this for later. And I did use it on the final boss, but yeah, it ended up kind of being a nuisance ultimately, even
That's
though
so
it
funny.
made the end boss a little easier.
I was confused about the when I jumped back into this game, I was like, why can't I absorb these souls? What is this different color thing? Then I realized, like, okay, that it's like the rosary thing is letting me talk to the ghosts, and it's not the wall that I thought it was going to be. It's just every enemy now, or every NPC you can just talk to, which is a weird idea.
That's another bizarre thing where it was just like, okay, I can just hear everyone's like thoughts before they died or whatever.
I love that. I don't question it. I love that. Like this whole.
I think one of them was like, there's treasure behind the waterfall or something like that.
Right.
I just
Yeah.
love the context of that because we're dealing with like demons and the other world and like the demon realm and all that. So just the idea, and you're sucking up demon essence when people die. So it would make sense that like when normal humans or whatever die, or like they leave a little trace element of thought behind or whatever. It's
sure.
just- yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
I'm such a sucker for the journals in this game. Like
Same.
It's cliche, but I still love it. There's that one journal of like, I've seen beyond the demon gate, and like, there's no colors that a painter can use to describe the crazy world that I've seen. It's like, hell yeah. Now we're talking. Or the one guy who's just talking about like the history of the Demon King. Whereas he was born in the confusion when the earth was created, and he's lived in the deepest, darkest places underground. No one knows what he usually does, is what it says.
No one
then it says-
knows what he usually does is such a good line.
And they say, demons, remember, no one can disobey the Demon King. And then, but it's like, it's making it seem like this ultimate unknowable evil, which makes me laugh so much. Then at the end of the game, when he's just like, I'm the Demon King, and he's just worming around like a snake. He's like, okay.
Big snake. Big snake. No painter could ever paint a big snake.
He's lovely.
That guy was also like felt so left field. Because I truly
Yeah.
had forgotten. I was like, oh, because your prediction last time, Ben, I think it was you, was like, we're fighting Nobunaga.
Of course.
And I was in my head.
prediction?
Yeah. In my head, I was like, I don't think you do. Like, that was my vague memory of it. Obviously, I didn't say anything. But, and then, like, to arrive there and be like, oh, right, it's just this, like, guy. Like, I
Some snake dude.
The Demon
he's like-
King is just some guy to you? No one knows what he usually does.
that's, no one knows. That's such a good phrase. Usually
Like, where
just
does he
waits
work?
around, I guess.
Yeah, probably somewhere in hell, but you don't know. RM.
I did like, again, with the FMV, I like the FMV of him coming out of the like tunnel.
Yeah,
like that was another good. Just like this was the height of rendering.
Yep.
You know,
It was,
like
yeah, it was mind-blowing.
There, yeah.
Yeah, he takes the full long route going up by the stairs, so he gets to go by the victims. And I like that little bit of lore too. I think the bee lady explains it like, okay, we need to kill the little boy in front of the princess because then she's going to be at like peak agony and then her blood's going to be sweeter. So what are you going to do?
Classic demons wanting to drink blood laced with fear.
Naughty.
Blood from the Grail of Despair.
Yeah.
Which I guess is her skull, because you're supposed to drink the blood out of her skull, right? So is her skull the Grail of Despair?
As we established last time, the skull is full of blood, but in a bad way, and not the way that it normally is.
RMVA.
Yeah, I got that
But
journal
it
too,
gets a
Jacob.
different name when it's like not on her body anymore.
Right,
It's now a Grail of Despair.
I guess so. Yeah, that's the way it should be.
Okay, all right.
It's kind of weird.
Also, that stare down, the stare down with Nobunaga is like, I'm like trying to put myself back as like just a kid that didn't know any better. And it's like now it's so clearly disappointing because it is like the game is building up to this final confrontation. So it ends and you're just like, what the heck? But as a kid, I bet I was just like, oh, I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, especially when it unlocks the trailer for the next one in the main menu. It's like, it's clearly coming. So I guess you just think it's going to be just like a nonstop battle between those two. It's just going to be like Gandalf and the big fire guy. Just this epic battle that never ends. Was it Balrog?
Balrog.
Thank you. Sorry, everyone. Relax. Balrog. I got it eventually. I got it there.
Also, in the, I know we're just talking about the end and everything, but like in that final cutscene where he goes Super Saiyan, what happens is like his blood gets in his gauntlet.
Yeah, of
I was
course.
like, that could have happened so many times while I was. I'm bleeding all over the place.
I would've-
the
yeah.
blood has
I
avoided
was
the
hit with
gauntlet till
swords
now.
and arrows.
Yeah, if I would have known that was an option, I would have cut open that kid 4 hours ago and bled him over my gauntlet. I mean, come on, man. That was a weird detail for sure. Did they touch on any of that stuff in the future entries, Huber?
I don't know about the exact lore bits of that, but that form becomes a thing moving forward in the franchise.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah. Like I went and watched the Onimusha 3 opening cutscene after last week just because that's like the biggest sort of FMV of the whole series, arguably. I don't know. Dawn of Dreams, I didn't look at that one much, but like that very strongly teases like you're going to be able to play as going Super Saiyan. Like that's a big part of this. I'm sure everyone knows what we're talking about when we say Super Saiyan. I'm sure there is name for it.
It's probably Oni related, because don't Onis usually have the big manes and stuff? Like,
You say
but
yes.
Super Saiyan's
warrior.
better. Yeah, that's the better way to describe it.
Brain Freeze
Super
writes
Saiyan
in.
is the Kleenex of power.
The Band-Aid.
It's called Onimusha, so you know.
Brain Freeze writes in and says, I did everything I could, unlock the special powerful sword, face the final boss in an epic showdown. Immediately upon completion, the game cut to a cable TV style, no signal screen, and then the credits started. Apparently some of the CG videos don't work on Steam Deck. So what happened in the final cutscene? Did anybody else play on Steam Deck?
No.
No, that would be so sad.
Yeah.
No.
Let's
No,
see.
it is slightly more sad than the actual.
But at least,
The actual abrupt ending.
yeah, he doesn't know that
Actually
Kaede
getting
dies.
like a cable style no signal of just like the test pattern. Like, is this some fourth wall break?
Yeah, like some Hideo in green text, like over in the corners.
Yeah, what you missed, the princess and little baby boy, they travel the world. Well, first of all, it's like, there is so much that it just cuts to, it says, suddenly it's another lesson in Japanese history. The point that I was just confused,
Yeah.
like, should I know these names? Because this is what it says at the ending there, and for the final cutscene, I guess, it says, he was lost, Samanosuke wasn't seen again, or was he, yada yada. Then it says, however, when Yoshitatsu Saito died in the following year, his feeble-minded son Tetsuoki became the lord. At that time, Oda's army returned to Mino province and conquered the Inabayama castle, putting an end of the history of the Saito family. It's like, wait, who are these? What are any of
It
these
is
names?
really like none of this mattered.
So the Saito clan was defeated by Nobunaga in real life.
Oh, okay, so they had to have the
don't know why
justification
that's,
for.
important here, like contextually, but
Okay,
I think there's a Saito clan in Yakuza, so
not that defeated after all.
yeah.
Yeah,
But,
that's.
by the way, I did
bizarre.
look up and figure out the official name for Super Saiyan. You guys ready for it?
I am.
yes.
It's Onimusha mode, obviously.
I'm going Onimusha mode.
Right now, this is to go even further beyond Onimusha mode. RMVA.
Onimusha mode 2.
Do you think there's any Saiyans who are just like, look, I really want to get strong, but I cannot handle looking so dumb like a Super Saiyan 3. Is there anything I can do to just skip Super Saiyan 3? Because I don't want to show my face without eyebrows because it looks.
I think most of the kids
Wait, which
do,
one is
don't they?
3?
3 is
Three's
the
the long
hair, no eyebrows. Maybe some freaks are into it. I don't know. Maybe
The
this is
most
going to be.
underused one across the show. I feel like it's really only. You see it very rarely.
I think that's I
No.
don't think that's
No.
a bad one. I
Nope.
don't know.
I'm going to mute Kelsey's
Long
mic.
hair is cool. You're like a
It's
lion.
cool. I agree, Kelsey. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
lions have eyebrows, I presume. If lions had
Oh,
to
do
shave
they?
their eyebrows, then they wouldn't look cool anymore. Like, it is weird that Vegeta never goes Super Saiyan 3. What's going on
too
there?
It is weird that they don't have eyebrows. Why have I never noticed they don't have eyebrows?
It's horrific. It's terrifying and bad.
You haven't spent like a large portion of your childhood and adult life just like over analyzing the different Super Saiyan power levels, Kelsey? That
No, I
wasn't an
mean I
important part
watched
of growing
Dragon Ball
up?
Z all the time as a kid, and I never noticed they don't have eyebrows.
It's all I
at
could
this
see.
level.
It was horrific. Who dares write in on Patreon? I'll tell you who. RMVA. They say I felt like the Leo Once Upon a Time in Hollywood meme when I reached the Great Arrow trap room that drops the gate when you pull it from the statue. It was just me pointing at the TV saying, Resident Evil shotgun swap, Resident Evil shotgun swap.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to do it.
Though I like that the arrow that you get to swap, it looks identical. Like it's like the great arrow and then like the decorative arrow, and I'm like, it's the same. It's just the same model I'm putting back up there.
Yeah, I had to like read the description to be like, okay, wait, this is the same arrow. What?
Yeah, and I like when you get that sword too that has like all the spikes coming off the side. And it's like the description's like, wow, this is too spiky to use. Wait, there's too many spikes on this sword. I want to swing this into an ogre's face. I'm sorry, a
It's gonna
demon's
cut
face.
too many like holes in people.
Right,
What?
come on, man. Yeah, Victor Fan writes in, says, it took me an embarrassingly long time to realize that the arrow needed to enter the demon realm was a separate key item. I spent at least 10 minutes trying to shoot the barrier with my regular bow, which, as you know, had some pretty clunky aiming to begin with. Yeah.
And you get the great bow, which you only use for that cutscene.
I know, I was
you
so
can't,
excited.
like, equip it. I don't think.
Yeah.
No, I jumped into my inventory immediately. And I'm like, what do you mean the great bow is not usable? Come on, guys. James Van Roos says, one quick shout out to the original soundtrack on the PS2 version, particularly the song that plays right near the end after Samanosuke lays down the semi-conscious Kaede and vows to avenge her and the two others who were kidnapped. I sat there for a good 30 seconds before moving, just soaking the song in and getting pumped for the final showdown. I assume in your version the song also rules. Did it stand out to you
I don't
at
remember.
all?
It didn't stand out to me. No.
Okay, it is
It
just...
didn't stand out to me. Really no part of the soundtrack in the remake, like it was all totally competent. There wasn't a part where I was like, oh my god, this
I agree.
rules.
I liked the Kaede music a lot just because it seemed like during her sections the music was just more. It didn't it wasn't holding back. It was just like full orchestrated fun music the whole time I was running around.
I guess we can listen to a little bit of this music here from the original version, and this is where, Samanosuke says, "This nightmare must end now." But imagine the most flat version of that. Let's see if this music has an impact here. It's very Dragon Questy.
Dragon Questy.
Oh, I remember thinking that with whatever the new version of the soundtrack is as well. It still feels Dragon Questy. Yeah.
Okay.
Even like old Dragon Ball Z movies, like Dead Zone, kind of a little bit.
Yeah, totally. Let's see. We got more people. Cliff says is a little bit abrupt as an ending. I'm a Biggie Boy says, Did you think the same team / people were in charge of directing in-game story beats versus the pre-rendered cutscenes? Because the in-game delivery is always campy, but the pre-rendered cutscenes seem so earnest. It was most jarring with the final boss introduction scene being adequately dramatic, only to be undercut by the big evil laugh and the little boy crying, "Sister!" Are there any recent games with the juxtaposition so severe between pre-rendered and in-game cinematics?
I had to listen to that horrible Yuki scream 7 times. She screams for so long. It's not like it's like a I'm like, oh my god.
It's a big snake, Kelsey. What do you want her to do? It's scary. They're going to drink her goddamn skull
Don't know
open.
what he usually does. Anything.
I was also distracted by the fact that Kaede, especially like high-res in-game version, looks almost nothing like her FMV version. Like the FMV Kaede looks like her face just looks like a sheet of paper. Like it has like no detail at all in it. And then the in-game one looks fine. And classic Capcom also has generous jiggle physics, which I was just like, all right, well, gonna see this every time I run around.
They're getting jiggle with it for sure. Skylar Timmons writes, and they say, I'm just going to come out and say it. What was up with the butthole of endless tentacle monsters on the final ramp down to the final boss? I spent way too much time farming health before moving on. Yeah.
What are those guys called?
I sprinted through that part.
Ronaldo?
Ronaldo.
It's like such a nerdy name.
Yep. I also
Ronaldo.
I was in the same camp. If I had full health, so I'm like, I just need to run down this ramp. I need to bypass all these fools. Yeah.
Yep.
Calling that a butthole wall is disgusting.
Nikki
It
B.
is what
accurate.
it is, though. It is completely accurate.
Yeah.
It is a giant butthole on a wall that poops out Ronaldo's.
Yep, Nikki B is also obsessed with the sphincter tightening right before the final boss. I was more sphincter aware in like the demon tower of like each floor is like, okay, I guess I just jump down this butthole to the next floor.
Or down stinker? Which one would you like to go?
Oh, Ronaldo's also a character in Hamlet, by the way. I was like, wait a sec.
Of course.
Wait a sec. And yeah.
What is going on?
Oh, Huber, last fun fact about that fighting game. You get to find out Marcellus. You can see what weapons he uses. And his sword is called the Man Killer.
The Man Killer.
Pretty good.
It's pretty good. Mim writes in, says, before the second Marcellus fight, do y'all think Guildenstern was projecting when he called Samanosuke a pathetic human worm? That could be.
Yeah.
I did. Oh, where is it? Somebody wrote in about our dear
My
friend.
favorite thing is at the end of this game, Guildenstern's whereabouts unknown.
Very unknown. Definitely confusing.
Was that in the last cutscene where they're saying where everyone is, or did they just not give?
He
You don't
has
even
nothing.
say if you know or don't know.
Nothing.
Does he come back in the series?
He does.
Oh yes.
God.
All right, Capsulon.
Did they give an
You
update
have
on the
not seen the last of
Mothman? Did they say where the Mothman ended up?
That's the demon realm thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good news.
Yeah, no, I just wanted like
I
the
see.
end
Oh.
cutscene
Yeah.
to be like, and the Mothman, he's still chilling there. He loves the demon realm.
He died 12 years later.
Because I didn't do that, does he expand ever on why he wants you to do that? Or
I don't
because
remember
he's like,
that.
you really should go to the demon realm. Like, you
weird.
gotta do this thing. It's super
You
fun.
will not believe how cool it is in there.
It feels like he has your back. He has your best interests in mind.
Okay.
And there are like
But
two entrances.
he doesn't explain like why he wants you to do this.
Does he turn into a
Why?
beautiful butterfly if you beat it? Anything cool like that?
And I think it's just like a weird, just like, hey, here's a way to have a 20-floor tournament style battle game.
Okay, this is.
So we need an upside down old man to do that. Can't introduce that mechanic without one.
I don't have the source, but I swear at one point in time I read that in Wind Waker, which has a comparable mode where you like work your way down to fight enemies, like was specifically inspired by Onimusha.
Oh,
like
really?
That mode. But I'm wondering if maybe I'm conflating things. Like maybe I read a review of Wind Waker and maybe the reviewer equated it to Onimusha, or because Nintendo doesn't usually share that kind of thing, you know. But
Yeah.
And then of course, like Devil May Cry, really, it's like they're that's a big thing in the entire Devil May Cry franchise.
Right.
Is like the bloody palace and
yeah, which
going
Onimusha
through the
Onimusha
floors.
did it
Yeah.
first, so.
Yeah, it is a cool way to kind of shake up the pacing. Like, hey, here's an option for you. You can run through this challenge dungeon if you want. Okay, last fun fact about the fighting game. The final thing after you beat the campaign in the fighting game is the Mothman comes out and he's like, here's a herb. But it's like at the end of a fighting game, he gives me like an item. I was confused about could I bring it into the next campaign? I was confused. So he gets a cameo in there at least.
I love what a mystery he is.
Yeah.
He's great.
Across games.
He's great.
No idea what that guy's up to.
Can you imagine if that lovable rogue ever got to talk to Guildenstern? I think the conversation would go a little something like this. No, I don't think he does. Speaking of,
I was gonna Google. I was wondering if he was rendered in the Game Boy Advance game. Like, is there a 16-bit or 32-bit or whatever version of him? I don't know.
Yeah, somebody wrote in here were asking if you ever played that tactics game on GBA.
Never played it. Always wanted to.
It looks cool.
Blind spot. Yeah.
Something about just tactics game on GBA is like I don't even like the genre, but it's like looking at that art. Like it always looks cool.
Oh, it looks so pretty.
Yeah. Phony Pope, inspired by Kyle asking about Wind Waker here, says, totally share the experience that playing this filled a hole in the history of game development for me. A similar feeling to when I discovered T-Rex, which helped to explain Glam Bowie. Interesting. Wow. All right. I know you mentioned Devil May Cry, but another influence on Onimusha is apparently God of War. David Jaffe said, quote, I played Onimusha and said, let's do that with Greek mythology.
Yeah.
And originally I'd been playing Onimusha and I said, well, what if we did pretty much a similar game, but instead of ancient Japanese mythology, we did it with Greek mythology. So apparently
a lot of similarities. The orbs, the camera angles, like later on in Onimusha 2 and stuff, they follow you.
Yeah.
Or Onimusha 3, I mean.
Yeah, that is true. Another little piece of history. That's important for sure. It's so weird to think of, the new God of War wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Onimusha, like what? Just imagine that gap. Capsalon is obsessed with when, of course, the greatest creation from our dear boy, Guildenstern, Marcellus comes out, and then Guildenstern yells out, come, Marcellus! And then his next line is, go, Marcellus! As he sticks you on him. He's like, it made me laugh so hard. I love that skeleton Muppet man. I love that man of mine.
So good.
Yeah, I like that fight. Once I found out that the medicine was there, it wasn't too brutal to get through, but I thought that was just a cool little second to the final fight there.
Yeah.
Once you got to the second phase of that fight, it was pretty easy to just shove him in a corner.
Yep,
Yeah.
totally.
Just unlock him.
Yep. And I feel like throughout this game, the more I leaned on rotating and strafing versus dodging, I was always better off, Just get a little nimble.
Yeah, well, and it's a good. It has the same thing that I like in Dark Souls bosses, where it's like, oh, you pay attention to what hand he's got the sword in, and then you can go around the opposite way. I was thinking about which way am I going to rotate around him?
Right.
Yeah.
Bob Beal writes in and says that line from Seminosuke during the final fight, "Even if I die, I will destroy you," was so absolutely metal. 10 out of 10, no notes, says Bob. The only note would be, let me skip it.
That was the only Samanosuke line that was
interesting
effective at all.
Yeah. Jonathan,
The next one is it actually has characters, so that's really cool.
Okay, well I've seen
there's people with actual personalities and character.
I mean, the remaster reveal trailer, they show the greatest swordsman of all time, so clearly they're leaning into that. Yeah, I mean, Onimusha 2 remaster has been announced since the last time we recorded, which is a weird coincidence.
I was genuinely planning to roll right into Onimusha 2 because I had never played it, and I was like, I want to check it out. Here's a great excuse.
Yeah.
But after that announcement, I'm just gonna wait for the remaster.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'll just play that then.
Deepest Dive Part 3. Let's go.
That's it. It's tempting. Do you like Onimusha 2 more than 1?
It is a better game. And I do like a lot of it more. I always love those early vibes of DMC 1, Onimusha 1. There is just kind of this
simplicity,
obscure mystery factor to it.
Okay, yeah, I can see it.
But 2 is superior.
Wow, all right.
Sure.
I imagine I will actually I just have more affection for 1. I'm just predicting my opinion here, but just the fact that Onimusha 1 is so small and condensed, it's just really fun to revisit, where 2, even if it's 6 to 8 hours, it's probably going to feel a lot, maybe too much.
Yeah, how long to beat has it at 10?
Okay, yeah, see, that's a lot.
Jonathan V says, I actually enjoyed the final boss battle. Everyone loved Final Fantasy 16 combat when it incorporated MMO attack pattern type things, but it turns out Onimusha did it first. The final battle was especially good compared to that awful bug lady. The ads spawned way too often on that one, says Jonathan. Yeah, I like that. Of just kind of showing like, all right, you gotta dodge this area of the battlefield is gonna be heating up.
Yeah, and the way they do it too, the punches will come in at first. You start getting used to those, then they'll throw out the orbs, and it's okay, I gotta dodge those. But then sometimes the orbs would be blocking my view. And then I would just get punched because they would like punch through the orbs, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta like manage both there.
Yeah, and that grab move was an instant kill for me. And then
it is just an instant kill. I had it once with full health, and
I think I got grabbed again actually, but I think there's some combination you can do of mashing on the buttons to get out of there.
Because
I did it
I
accidentally.
got grabbed.
There was like
and
a flash.
I mashed out.
Yeah, I did
was
mash
mashing.
out. So Rian writes in and says, last deepest dive, multiple of you guys said you didn't know how to win sword clashes. Fear not, I have the solution, probably too late now. I found out what works is not just mash the attack button, but literally every other button as much as possible. It works for me every time. I read online that it's like, all that matters is if you're hitting left and right really fast. So I was trying that, and I was able to get out of it a couple times. Yeah,
like on the D-pad?
I was hitting everything. It was just stupid.
Okay.
Eventually,
right.
it kind of worked.
Go ahead.
I tried different types of mashing, and none of them seemed to work. But
It's the falling off of your skateboard and Tony Hawk reaction. Like you start pressing buttons, you get up faster.
That's it. Yeah.
It's funny that all these years later, there's still like conflicting information about this.
I know. CJ says, I remember playing this game as a kid and having so much trouble with that final boss that I literally needed to use action replay codes in order to beat it. Flash forward to now as an adult, and it's just a somewhat frustrating fight, but nothing too bad. Maybe I just didn't understand upgrades back then or something. Maybe I'm just better at gaming in my 30s. Who knows? Probably the upgrade thing.
Yeah. Probably like combination of all that, just you're older, wiser, more experienced, so to focus on those upgrades and just kind of manage all of the progression aspects of the game that maybe are like over your head when you're a kid and you're just like, blindly going through.
Yeah. It is also just a patience fight. I mean, it's literally just you run in and hit him twice and then run away, and that was very hard for me to do as a kid because I wanted to hit him as many times as I could.
I was very impatient boss fights as a kid.
But those fire waves, sometimes it was tough to get all the way back to that back row and dodge that. Because I kept trying to think, there's got to be some way I can dodge this fire if I'm closer, but I don't think there is, right? Like, there's no corner you can hide it. You just have to be on that far back row.
Or you take the hit to make the play.
Every once in a while, supposedly if you're running all the way into the back corner, you don't get hit with the fire. Every once in a while, I would be in the corner and still get hit with it, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. Like, I must have just been positioned just slightly wrong or something, but it happened a couple of times, and I was like, really? Like, I'm in the corner.
I felt like I just always went to the bottom of the screen. It wasn't even a corner, just like as far, towards.
Yeah.
You just have to be actively running backwards, but again, it still got me twice randomly, and I was like, I don't know what I did wrong here.
His little stupid laser blast would always get me, just that quick little pop. Yeah. Does a snake really need a laser? He has fire, he has crazy moves, and a laser on top of that? Come on, man.
It was very Pokemon coded. I was like, what type are you, dude?
Yeah, come on, man.
Demon. Arbok? What's going on here?
Shoji Kodo writes in, says, I find it pretty funny that after all Samanosuke has been through in the game, when removing the sword from that wall corpse, he exclaimed, what? Like it was the biggest WTF moment that blew his mind. Apparently that's if you get, the big final sword in there. Ooh, you know what's the satisfying part? Is when you're Kaede and you are running through a hallway and there's just a bunch of demon ligaments. You know what I'm talking about? Covering the entire thing. You just give one slash and it pops them all open. They look kind of like the
so cool
gooey knees. Oh, that's so satisfying.
Gooey knees.
They were gooey knees, Kyle.
No one has ever said those two words together. It's a gooey knee.
I need more gooey knees. Reed Harry writes in and says, I started to love the flow of combat. Since the orbs eventually drift away, if you don't suck them up, you have to find little moments in the middle of a fight to stand still and absorb them. It's got a nice rhythm to it, and it forces some fun risk-reward decisions. It reminds me of how healing works in Hollow Knight. I can see it.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Joe Mama says, thank you all for suggesting tank controls. It's made the game much more enjoyable, with the ability to jump back, making the game feel more tactical. The lock-on actually works when using tank controls too. Everything in this section is much more fun now.
Nice.
I'll be damned. Happy to help. Let's see. Brandon S. I don't understand this one. You guys gotta help me out. They say, it's now confirmed that phones exist in some capacity, be it demon magic or otherwise, because the puzzle box behind the waterfall has you make a keypad number 1 through 9. So therefore, it's time travel. Brandon, we all know what you're talking about, and we appreciate you. Thank you for supporting us.
Time travel shows up in 3. There's a cell phone in the opening cutscene at 3.
Really?
That was the first time that I was like, oh, these puzzle boxes are hard. That waterfall one was, that was tough.
Hey, I solved it just like all the others. Looking up Onimusha puzzle box walkthrough.
I'm in the same camp.
What worked for me was like finding the number that was like the most displaced. And if I focused on that one number,
so fun.
If I got 3 from the bottom left to the top right, everything else usually fell in place.
Yeah.
Look, Kyle, here's the thing though. With that last box, it gave you 5 moves. You can do it in 3, but it doesn't open. You have to do it in 5 moves.
Oh,
sick.
That's annoying. They should patch that.
It was really annoying. I was like, it's literally solved. What?
What do you want from
stupid.
me?
Kelsey, did you enjoy the game?
Yeah. Timing was the only ding on this.
Yeah.
Because codes are coming in for like my most anticipated games.
Who can say what that is?
Of the year. And I was like, I need to finish Onimusha, and that was like, that is the only ding, and it's not the game's fault. It was just timing. But yeah, again, I mean, I'm not like, this is my new favorite franchise, but I'm really glad I played it.
Yeah. It's like, to be fair, the timing would have been perfect if we didn't get sick and delay things by 1 week. You know, we almost got in before like the big games are starting to trickle out here for sure. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. I felt, this is a weird thing to admit, but like I always just feel in my heart of hearts that like, well, old games, they're just unbeatable. Like any game that I could have played when I was a kid, like in my mind, it's like very few are actually conquerable. And so it feels really good to like sit down and play an older game, which even though, you know, the game came out when I was 14, so it's not like ancient, but or maybe it is.
Over 2 decades though.
Yeah, but just I felt strangely proud of myself for like, I can do it. I can finish a Resident Evil style game from 2001 still. Look at that.
Get it.
I also it's like I ended last week being like pretty mid, but like it was, and as is the case with all of these, it was like the more I understood the shape of the map, the more I enjoyed the game.
Yeah.
You know, just being like, I think I know where I'm going now makes it so much better, and kind of being like, I got a new key, or I powered up my orb to like be able to unlock level 3 locks. I now know exactly where I can go to use that. Felt great. And so I ended much more positive than I was feeling in the middle.
Oh, awesome. That's great.
Yeah, is Way of the Sword like a day one play for everyone now? Like,
yeah, totally.
I mean, I'll play any game with a guy with a sword in it at this point.
Well, it took you a million years to get to Onimusha.
A new game.
Yeah, any new revelations from you two experts down there, Kyle and Huber?
You know, I don't know if it's a revelation, but I do actually see this being a game that I could revisit again in like a couple years.
Yeah.
Because like this was such smooth sailing for me. I think my playtime was like 3.5 hours.
Whoa.
And I really enjoyed it, and like I felt like I was going at a good pace. I wasn't like trying to speedrun or anything. And I think it's almost entering that zone of like comfortable just game that I can boot up on my Switch or Switch 2 or whatever it'll be in a couple years. And so like I don't know if I had any revelations, but it's just like it is now a comfort food game for me. I think
100%.
Yeah,
and that's why I was talking about, you know, what the new one, the direction will be. Like if it's shorter, I think it's easier to be like a comfort game, like you were talking about.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pessimistic. You know, I'm guessing it's probably going to be like a 20-hour game.
Yeah.
I'm still very excited for it, but yeah, I would love if you know there was a press email or a press release that was like, Way of the Sword, guaranteed under 8 hours.
You coward.
And you're like, hell yeah.
As the years go by and by, you know, this game keeps getting older and older, and it definitely is the building blocks of more to come. Like Onimusha 2 and 3 just do a lot more, and 4 as well, obviously. But yeah, I think it was really fun because this is the first time I've played Onimusha 1 knowing that a brand new one is coming out.
Right.
So just playing it with that lens was so exciting, and it just had me wondering, what philosophies they're going to pull from that original into the new one. They've already talked about, absorbing the souls and how that's going to be tactical. And we've talked about that in the deepest dive of like doing that even in this one is tactical. So like, how are they going to elevate that to the next level?
For sure. I feel like I'm a coward in this game, and Resident Evil games too. Like, I don't know what everybody's save count was up to. I was at 99 saves in this playthrough.
Okay, I thought mine was that it was 50 something.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was being a coward about it. So.
All right, good.
I don't remember my stats. I wish I'd screenshotted it, but does this tell you how many times you looked at the map? That probably
No.
not, right?
Ooh, I will say
that
Silent
was
Hill
something-
2 I had like
Yeah.
800 times.
That was the thing that I loved in Silent Hill 2 remake recently is people were showing their stats screen, and my map check number was like
Yours was
triple
literally
everyone
twice
else's.
as high as mine.
Yeah, because I would just walk 5 feet, check my map. Walk 5 feet, check my map.
Yeah.
Oh,
But I did that a lot here too.
The biggest game changer in the first discussion versus second was knowing that I can just hit R3. It's the only use of the analog sticks on the original PS2, and it brings up the map for the region that you were in. Like, that genuinely changed my entire playthrough
I
here.
think I had 0 map checks because I didn't. I guess I did. I forgot the R3 thing, and I was just like, I was never like, I'm not gonna find the map of the specific location I'm in from this list. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Wait, you never accidentally hit R3 while...
No, because I was using the D-pad.
Oh,
my
right,
God.
okay. Yeah.
So real quick, because this is something that I kind of glossed over last time. If you don't hit R3, you just have to like look through your maps manually. Okay, yeah, that seems brutal. Yeah, I don't think I
Pause
can play
map.
it without R3.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But that was in the original PS2 version. That was not a. Is what you're saying, Ben? Like you could press R3 and
yes.
okay.
Yep. McGreevy writes in and says, "Wow, first time even hearing of Onimusha, and I loved it. What a strong ending, too," they say. Grateful to be introduced just in time for the 2 remaster and the reboot next year. With counterattacks, parries, and dodges, this mechanically has the juice for an incredible modern Capcom game. I find myself echoing the thoughts leading into the RE4 remake, that I hope they keep the camp and the comedy into the reboot and just refine combat to a T. Yeah, I haven't seen any freaks. That teaser trailer seems pretty damn serious, which has me a little worried. But they've got to be hiding in there, I hope.
It'll be serious with moments of camp. They always get just those little moments in like all of their franchises, it feels like, truly.
That is true.
Just there's always like a little bizarre, funny, campy element, I feel like.
Yeah. Sarah Ripley wrote in and they say, "This is the first survival horror game I've ever played."
Whoa!
Yeah, interesting one. Would you consider this survival horror, Huber?
Survival horror action, it's like if you went into a Blockbuster, it could be there.
Okay. All right,
Yeah.
Anyway, so
It's a good first
It's
one.
close.
Yeah. Sarah Ripley
Right?
says,
Like it's survival horror without the ammo sort of management.
Right,
Which
right.
makes it, I think, honestly, like if you're not familiar with the genre, like a pretty good first one.
yeah.
Kelsey's getting stuck behind the force.
Yeah, Kelsey, you might want to drop out and jump back in. You're
Okay.
losing your mind. So Sarah Ripley says, first survival horror game I ever played, but I watched all of Game Informer's New Year's Super Replays, and Tim Turry back at Game Informer taught me to just spam the pickup button along all the walls, and that helped me out so much with finding items. So thanks to Tim, says Sarah Ripley.
That's the old Resident Evil strat, just like
Yep, gotta do it.
Yep.
That's it. David Dillinger wrote in talking about how cool it is to have that actor's face, and he's talking about like how rare it was, and he brought up, for examples before Onimusha, like Michael Jackson with Moonwalker. It's probably a big one,
and then like
Willis.
GTA Vice City having Ray Liotta's voice,
Yep.
but not the face, and like a lot of celebrities, obviously. But
Yeah.
not the face.
What was the Bruce Willis PS1 game?
Apocalypse.
Armageddon or Apocalypse. Yeah.
Same deal, yeah.
Because right, he famously they used that character model in their Tony Hawk beta because that's just like what they had on hand.
Right.
So, like,
right.
the first tests of Tony Hawk were Bruce Willis rolling around.
That is really
about
cool
that,
lore.
What about that VIP game on PS1?
Pamela Anderson.
Pam Anderson?
Yeah, very important, very influential for Onimusha. We wouldn't have
Look,
God of War without VIP. David Dillinger also says, if you're interested in Japanese history, I recommend a Netflix documentary called Age of Samurai: Battle for Japan. The first 3 episodes cover Nobunaga and get a sense of how evil he truly was.
Whoa.
Okay, I'm genuinely going to watch that.
Yeah.
I want to know more about Nobunaga and all of these other people that they keep talking about. Like I should know who they are and what they did.
I want to know, does he get out of that cave at the end or not? By the way, what was up? Everyone was always like, humans can't enter the demon world. Like, did you just kind of walk in there at the end, or you were not truly in the demon world? Or what?
Is it just your gauntlet?
Yeah, I was thinking the gauntlet maybe was the...
But the princess was in there.
Yeah.
But she didn't like
Good
it.
point.
Maybe he didn't mean it literally. He was like, you shouldn't be here. You
Okay.
humans
They're liars.
Yeah.
That was
Maybe it was
wacky
you
dudes.
need, like, genuinely, maybe it was like you needed the bow or something. Like, humans can't get in here. They don't have the thing that they don't have the key.
Yeah.
They'll never
They'll
think
never
to
find
shoot
the
that
great
big
bow.
eyeball.
I mean, I'm always shouting at squirrels that they can't come in the house, and I don't really get a lot of squirrels in my house, but they could get in there if they really
What?
were.
Are they
wanted to.
trying?
I don't think they're trying.
Can you yell at
So you're
them?
just shouting at them? They're not trying. They're minding their own business.
This is like the
Like,
there are no
Stay
elephants
away!
in Paris joke. No squirrels in my house.
Can you shout at them as Guildenstern though, Kyle? I think it would help you, and your neighbors would
Ooh,
like
that's
it too.
squirrel.
Oh, wait, he wants to do surgery on a squirrel?
He's a weirdo.
I see. Michael writes in on Patreon there. Thank you, Michael. They say, I feel like there's a whole subgenre of ninja games for sickos with Ninja Gaiden, Tenchu, Onimusha that I never would have dared try back when they were released. Too difficult or too obtuse for me, but it's nice to see this stuff revived in a post-Souls era. It's cool to see some of these, quote, older brother sick ninja games coming back into the zeitgeist. And I love that. I thought about that a lot because I was talking to former Game Informer guy, Ben Reeves, now a writer on Civ 7. But I was talking to him about Onimusha, and he's like, yeah, like my older brother was obsessed with Onimusha. And it's like, it does feel like an older brother game. You know, like the type of game you just kind of look into the bedroom and see every once in a while, like, oh, that's too scary for me. I couldn't handle whatever this was.
This is not a game for sickos, though. Like,
I think it's pretty sick and twisted.
Ninja
man.
Gaiden and Tenchu can like go in that category. This is like this isn't harder than
This is
Resident
cozy.
Evil, and Resident
It's
Evil
friendly.
isn't a game for sickos.
Yeah, you're totally right. Absolutely.
Are pirates and ninjas back now? Like, are they cool again? We got Pirate Yakuza and
Oh, yeah.
New Onimusha.
Yeah, I'm thinking they're
know.
back, Kelsey.
New Onimusha. And
I'm
honestly,
thinking
like,
you're in one.
Ubisoft just like 10 years too late with the samurais and the ninjas with Assassin's Creed. It was like everyone wanted that for so long.
Yeah.
And now now there's all this competition.
Too much. I think that's it for Onimusha Warlords 2001 gem. Any final thoughts we haven't hit?
Is this Deepest Dive longer than the game?
You could speedrun it.
think
You could get
so.
through. Yeah.
Is that the first?
Nope.
Does it claim that
Nope.
sort
Nope.
of?
What Remains of Edith Finch?
That's
Deepest Dive is
okay,
technically longer than the game.
Nice.
I think there might be some other examples too. We got close with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for how long that discussion went, but yeah. All right, that is it. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching, listening, sharing. Again, if you want to support this type of content directly, if at any point during this discussion you said, I'm glad they did this. I'm glad that they're not trying to hit hot SEO. I guess we accidentally kind of did with Onimusha 2, but you know, we're not trying to.
I don't think it's working.
It's not working. So if you appreciate us going back to a 2001 game like Onimusha for the Deepest Dive instead of only doing new releases, you can support this directly by going to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. Unlock that bonus podcast feed where there's like 30 other Deepest Dives waiting for you in podcast form. And if you do it this week before we hit 5,700 paid supporters, you get a Steam code for Cryptmaster from 2024, sitting at overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam. Don't take our word for it. Believe the masses. They never steer us wrong. So get a code for Cryptmaster. We'd appreciate it. Now's the time to jump in. I'll DM you on Patreon personally, and we can talk a bit. We'll go back and forth in messages. So support us. We appreciate it. Jacob, Kelsey, Kyle, thank you for being on this journey. Greatly appreciate it. It felt like I was going out on a weird limb to be like, does anyone else want to do Onimusha for Deepest Dive? It would be the easiest no in the world. Just like the way we all shut down Leo when he tried to get us to play Slide 2 for the Deepest Dive. And so I appreciate you guys being up for this weirdo journey. It's been fantastic. And the one and only Michael Huber, champion. Coming in.
Dude, thank you all. Thank you, everyone.
Fan, we just learned.
Thank you so much for having me. Seriously.
Yeah.
An honor to
And
be here.
don't be humble and just plug MinnMax, but genuinely, what do you want to plug from the world of Easy Allies here?
World of Easy Allies. I feel like we have some cool group streams coming up, so check out twitch.tv/Easy Allies Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific.
Perfect. That sounds great. And the Easy Allies podcast, of course, listen to for sure.
Yes.
Links below for all your convenience. All right. That is it, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you, of course, to everybody leaving comments over there on Patreon. Couldn't do this without you, so we greatly appreciate it. And we'll be back for the next Deepest Dive in the future. We don't know what it is yet, so keep the feedback rolling in. Bye, everybody. What would Guildenstern say to close this out?
It's over, puny mortals.
Did you know that you can double the amount of MinnMax podcasts you listen to every single week right in your favorite podcast app? All you have to do is go to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's, jump in at that $5 tier, and then you're good to go. You have the podcast version of The Deepest Dive, Max Spoilers, MinnMax interviews, weekly access to Bonus Pod, which is our Patreon exclusive podcast. It's very good. And early and ad-free versions of the MinnMax Show podcast every single week. There's a ton of content in there, and it's a way to directly support what we do here at MinnMax.